he breathes, his breath kindles coals. A flame comes forth from his mouth. All right, he keeps going. This is actually verses before that. Can you draw? God calls this thing Leviathan with a fish hook. Or press down his tongue with a cord. Can you put a rope in his nose and pierce his jaw with a hook? Will you play with him as a bird? Or put him on a leash for your girls? Can you fill his skin with harpoons? Or his head with fishing spears? Lay your hands on him. Remember the battle. You won't do it again. So God's having fun with Job. Try Leviathan, man. Look at what I created there. Go ahead. Try to tame this thing. I want to sit back and watch, right? Verse 22. In his neck abides strength. The folds of his neck stick together. His heart is hard as stone when he raises himself. The mighty are afraid. Though the sword reaches him, it doesn't avail. The spear, the dart, the javelin, they're all useless. He counts iron as straw, and bronze is rotten as wood. The arrow cannot make him flee. For him, slingstones are turned to stubble. Clubs are counted as stubble. His underparts are like, so his stomach side are like sharp potsherds. He spreads himself like a threshing sledge on the mire. He makes the deep boil like a pot. He makes the sea like a pot of ointment. Behind him he leaves a shining wake. So this big, super great marine creature can move. You know, a boat moves fast enough. You see this white shiny wake behind it, ski behind it, jump on it. Same thing here. One would think the deep to be white here. So this thing can move too. On earth there is not his like, a creature without fear. He sees everything that is high. He is king over all the sons of pride. Job, what do you think about that? All right. Also, look at this one in Isaiah 36. 30 verse 6. An oracle on the beasts of the Negev, the desert area. Through a land of trouble and anguish, from where come the lioness and the lion, the adder and the, literally from the Hebrew, flying fiery serpent, or translated dragon. They carry their riches on the backs of donkeys and their treasures on the hump of camels. Now, why would Isaiah have a lioness, real animal, lion, real animal, adder, real animal, donkeys, real animal, camels, real animals, then all of a sudden in the middle put a mythical creature? The context doesn't beg it. No, he's talking about some kind of real physical animal, some flying, fiery serpent, dragon type thing, like God was describing in Genesis 1 and in Job. So, sound like a dinosaur? Like dragon? Absolutely. What about this land dinosaur? Go back to Job 40. God says, remember the first one was Leviathan? Now God calls this one Behemoth, which I made, Job, as I made you. He eats grass like an ox, so he doesn't go around eating people like Jurassic Park. All right? Behold, his strength is in his loins, the power in the muscles of his belly. He makes his tail stiff like a cedar. Is that an elephant? Do they have a tail like a cedar? No. All right? Far from it. And his bones are tubes of bronze. His limbs are bars of iron. If the river is turbulent, he's not scared. He's confident, though the Jordan rushes against his mouth. Jordan River at flood stage, we'll get to that in Joshua, could be a mile wide, rushing, gushing fast. I'll show you pictures of it. The creature doesn't care if it's flood stage, moving at 30 miles an hour current. Doesn't terrify him a bit. Can one take him in his sight or pierce his nose with a snare? What's that sound like? Some kind of big land dinosaur. Maybe my names are bad. The kind with long necks that eat grass. Yes. One of those. But it's like God saying, Job, look at this. I made this just like I made you. Look at the one in the water. I made that one too. All right? You want strength? Here you go, Job. Look how big I am. Okay? So biblical support? Absolutely. We'll leave it there. We'll come to the next one. Day 6. Go to verse 27. So God 26, we'll go to Genesis 1:26. God said, let us make man in our image and our likeness. Let them rule over the fish, birds, livestock, over the earth, over all the ground creatures that move along the ground. So God created man in his image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female. God created them. What do you notice in verse 26? God said, let us. That's plural, isn't it? In our image. Plural. In our likeness. What do we have here? Holy Trinity. We've already seen the Spirit in verse 2. God is saying, talking to himself. We do it too, made in his image, right? Let us do this. The whole Trinity's in on this together, making man. Doesn't say that for all the other parts of creation. When it comes to you, God says, let us make man. This is all of us. Amazing how much we mean to our God. Let us is also used in Genesis 3:22, Genesis 11 verse 7, and again in Isaiah 6 verse 8. Where is the Trinity in the First Testament? It's right there at the beginning, the whole time. We just have to see it, have our eyes open to it. By the way, here's another good one here. Look at verse 29. So God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue. What was God's first command to man and woman? Procreate. Go have lots of awesome hot sex as a man and wife, husband and wife. That was his first command. All right, they just didn't stumble into this or, whoa, you know, look at her, look at her. Oh, look what we can do. You know, no, this was God's first command. How good is our God? Husband and wife, go have lots of sex together and fill this earth with lots of people that we are making. All right, so it's certainly holy and honorable thing that he created man and woman to enjoy in that institution of marriage. Okay, go to verse 31. God saw all that he had made, and it was very good. There was evening and there was morning, the sixth day. So how many day creation? Sixth day. Day 7, what did God do? He Sabbathed. Literally in Hebrew, he Sabbathed. He rested. He ceased. He stopped. All right, so Adam and Eve were created on day 6. What was their first full day of existence? A day with God. Their first full day was just a day to be with God and enjoy this maker, this new beautiful creation. And then what would day of 8 have been? Work in the garden. So rest and then go work. They were to work from a place of rest, not work your bottom off for 6 days and then rest. It was start from a place of rest with me. And then in that strength, go work the garden, even though it wasn't burdensome yet at that point till Genesis 3. We'll get to that. But it's amazing. His very first day was just a day of rest with God. Incredible. What do we teach here? Before creation of the world, there are the bullet points underneath. Nothing in the world existed except God. God created everything through his powerful word. You can look at all these verses. Humanity was the high point. We've seen that. We bear God's holy image. Even with the fall, we have not lost that. James talks about that. Creation was completed in 6 days, evening and morning. What did God set up that first 7 days? What was the time frame? A week. How does the world still run today? Every culture, every nation, every tribe still revolves around what? The week. God set this up. One of the reasons, too, why we say yes, no, we're literal 24-hour days with a 7th day to just rest and be with God. The Sabbath, same pattern God set up for us to have today. Okay? Oh, now you can go, if you want to write these down, Psalm 90, verse 4. And 2 Peter 3, verse 8. Those are the two verses, Psalm 94, 2 Peter 3, verse 8. Those are the two verses that say, but if the Lord 1,000 years is like a day is like 1,000 years. Some people can try to say, well, yeah, couldn't that then be read back into this creation account to say maybe they weren't 24-hour literal days? We have evening and morning set apart for each day, just like the Hebrew calendar. It all revolves around the week. If you read those two verses, they have nothing to do with creation or time, all right? It's just saying God is outside of time. He is not, just like worldly in it, but he's outside. So we can't read those. It's reading those two verses way out of context to try to read those back into the creation account. Okay, that's why we affirm that. Also Moses, when he writes God tells him to write the 10 Commandments, he's unloading the commandment 3. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Moses says in Exodus 20, for in 6 days God created the heavens and earth. Twice Moses acknowledges that as well. So we do believe these are 6 literal 24-hour days resting on the 7th, just like we go today with our world and time. All right. The Bible moves from creation to new creation in Christ to new heavens. We talked a little bit about that. Look at Hebrews 11. How do we understand the universe was formed at God's command? By faith. So that everything we see was not made out of what was visible. So we know the 6-day creation by proof? No, though there's a lot of evidence. We'll look at some in just a minute. But by faith. God, if you said it, there's evidence, and it's your word. All right, I believe that. I believe that. Some thoughts, and then we'll pause. For some other things, this is some scientific evidence for a creation as we understand it from the Bible. There's what the Cambrian explosion, we mentioned that a little bit, that even scientists today acknowledge, yes, it does look like this universe had a beginning. So what caused it to begin? If there was nothing before it, to cause it to begin. They call it the Cambrian explosion. What caused the bang if there was nothing in existence to do the banging or to even bang with? All right? Fossil record. If this earth was millions and billions of years old, and evolution has been a really long, slow, drawn-out process, what would the fossil record bear witness to? And this has gone on for millions of years. What would the fossil record reveal?
Missing links.
A bunch of missing links. They would be all over the place. Half this, half that. All right? What's the fossil record reveal? They're scrambling to find one. And if this went on for millions and millions and millions of years, and evolution was the norm across species, we won't be able to just go stick a shovel in the dirt almost anywhere today and dig up some half this, half that. Think of it today. Would it still be a bunch of half thises and half that's? Well, all of a sudden it hasn't stopped with the monkeys and apes, and they are their species. And then it stopped with us and our species. All of them have funneled those two directions. No, they would still be half this and half that. And some might be like us, and some might be other living half things. But all of a sudden, I guess they've just completely stopped into those own two full species. All right, the fossil record does not support this. They're digging frantically, just trying to find one. Isn't that something if this was the norm for millions and millions and millions of years? All right, so the earth itself is God's own testimony, testament to Scripture. Did you know that the force of gravity and the cosmological constant, two of these forces in our universe that are right here in our planet that we don't even realize, are fine-tuned to 1 over 100 millionth trillionth? And that's exactly where they need to be for us to have life here right now and be breathing. 1 over 100 million trillion. There are about 20 to 30 of those properties, physical laws, that are exactly over like 1 over 100 million trillion. They're exactly where they need to be or life could not exist. Move it a little bit and life would be impossible. How's that happen? How many have Legos or kids with Legos, grandkids with Legos? Very cool to go get the full set, maybe a car. Now they have planes, trains, automobiles, Star Wars, Star Trek, you name the theme, they have it. What are the odds if I took all the pieces were there? What are the odds if I took one of those Lego boxes that had the full kit, nothing is missing, but all the pieces are individual? What are the odds that if I dropped that kit on the ground, it would self-assemble? With 100 pieces. Do a 10-piece kit, a 10-piece kit. What are the chances that a 10-piece Lego kit would self-assemble exactly how it's supposed to be? How many times do I have to do that for that to happen? All 10 exactly where they need to be. Are we talking a 10-piece Lego kit? We're talking a galaxy. That everything is exactly where it needs to be to the 1/100th of a million of a trillionth so we could be here right now. How does that happen from an accidental bang? The electromagnetic force is another one of those properties. That's exactly where it needs to be for life. Our living cells are irreducibly complex, meaning take one part out of our cell and it can't live. So how could it evolve over millions of years and get more complex if it couldn't live without all the pieces being exactly where they are at, in the order they are at now? That's another thing. Lee Strobel, we can talk about him some other time, compared it to a mousetrap. He had one of the old ones, the good ones that had a spring, got the job done. All right? Take one of those pieces out, does it work? No, you have to have all the pieces there in a mousetrap to have this thing work. Okay, or it's not going to. Now think of the human cell that's so much more complex than that. Take even one piece out, and it's not going to work. It needs them all in their respective order. So how could that develop over millions of years of time, then all of a sudden have all the right pieces in all the right places to function? And our body has millions, billions, or trillions of cells. DNA. There are 6 feet of DNA in every one of your 100 trillion cells. Has 6 feet of DNA. Those chemicals that are in DNA, there's no chemical attraction between them. Nothing that would naturally make them gravitate to exactly how they need to be wound in order. So how'd that happen? How'd they get programmed if there's no chemical attraction between those 4? To me, it sure points to quite an intelligent designer that from the get-go said this is how it's going to happen. And this is how every 6 feet and every one of your 100 trillion cells has to operate to know how to form and so forth. And this is just scratching the surface. What about from the Bible as Christians? Think of the evolution theory as this. There are some who believe in theistic evolution, that God sort of created it and got it going, and then the whole ape thing took over and did it on its own. If that's the case, answer this first one. At what point in the evolutionary process, then, did the creatures all of a sudden get an immortal soul? And God saw this thing happen and go, oh man, I never saw this coming. These things have turned into fully formed, functioning human beings. I know. I'll start giving these things a living, eternal soul. Like it caught God off guard. He knew it was going to happen. So, oh man, and then what about all the creatures before that then? See, where do you get this eternal living soul from if it's not there from day one? How do you put that into the picture as Christians with creation? Let's not just start at the beginning. Let's go all the way to the end. What's going to happen when Jesus comes back? We'll look at this as we go through the Bible. What's going to happen when Jesus comes back? What's he going to do? What's in our creed? Okay? Judge the living and the dead. Blah, 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 blah. And I look for the resurrection of the dead and the life of the world to come. What's Jesus going to do when he comes back? We just read it in Revelation. This heaven and this earth are going to be destroyed. Revelation 21:1, I saw a new heaven and a new earth. All right, this one can't hold us for eternity. It's too messed up with our sin. All right, God's going to create a whole new heaven and a new earth. How did he do this one? In 6 days by his almighty word. Okay, if he did it once, can he do it a second time? Or if you believe in evolution, then how are you going to reconcile that? If God can't do it in 6 days this first time by his almighty word, what's going to happen after we're raised? We're going to have to float around for billions of years hoping for another universe to explode into existence that has all exactly the right laws and properties again for us to live there eternally with God? No, God's going to do it again. Let there be life, heavens and earth, created, vegetation, animals. Here you go. Let's live here together forever now. Okay, so run it all the way through. So there's a lot of science that doesn't hold weight. Scripture, a lot of, not only does God say it, so we believe it, but there's scientific evidence as well. But even theologically, creation doesn't hold weight. If you're a Christian, from first creation to the new one, when Jesus comes back. That's how big our God is. If he said the sun's got to go here, the moon's got to go here, he made them, he set them, he's going to do it again. But this time, sin's never going to be able to wreck it like it has this time. Satan's going to be condemned eternally in the eternal abyss. So he can't come in and tempt us to sin again. So that's our hope. Let's go through this, and then I can ask if there's any. So again, Revelation 21, I saw a new heaven and a new earth. This heaven, this earth have passed away. Death's not going to be there anymore, or mourning, or crying, or pain, because sin's not going to be allowed to enter. Just look at it again. Think about this, which sounds like it makes more sense. Creation, evolution, time. Creation was 6 days. What about evolution? Billions of years. What about the method? Creation was God's Word. Let there be. There it was. Evolution, it was just one gigantic accident. It was never meant to be. You weren't supposed to be here right now. You were never planned. Your life has no real meaning. Just try to enjoy it what you can before you go. People, what are people according to creation? We are made in the very image. Let us make man in our image. Only thing he spoke that over creation in. What about evolution? We're just an evolved species. Again, we weren't planned. It just happened. Apparently we're still evolving into something because we're never going to be there. There's an in this between somewhere. What's our purpose according to the Bible? Why are we here? To be in a loving relationship with God, to be in a loving relationship with one another, and then to be in a loving relationship with creation and to care for it. Just as God told Adam and Eve in the garden. What about evolution? What's your purpose? Survive. If you're strong enough, maybe you will. Right, that's it.